The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed in this podcast belong solely to those expressing them and do not necessarily reflect the OSIP Foundation Incorporated or any other group or individual. This podcast may contain dialogue or subject material that could be considered for mature audiences only. All aspects of How You Play the Game and the OSIP Foundation Incorporated are protected by copyright and other state and federal intellectual property laws. Unauthorized use without the express written consent of the OSIP Foundation Incorporated is strictly prohibited. If you're interested in sponsoring How You Play the Game, please email us at podcast@osipfoundation.org. Your sponsorship may be tax deductible. Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of How You Play the Game. I believe this is actually episode 200, if I'm doing my math correctly. You know what that means? I can count to 200. That's literally all that means. But thanks for being here with us. Really appreciate you joining us here on How You Play the Game, the official podcast of the OSIP Foundation Incorporated. Yours truly, Jack Furlong, with you as we talk to you about what's going on as far as the world of sportsmanship is concerned. This is the first episode of the month of April. The year is 2026. As always, join us online at osipfoundation.org. If you would like to email the show, please use the address podcast@osipfoundation.org and on the socials at facebook.com/osipfoundation, X and Instagram at osipfoundation, hashtag how you play the game. Today, what I thought I would do is do a little recap of the World Baseball Classic. This year we had another great tournament that we get, if we're lucky, once every 3 years or so. There's a lot of politics that will go into these decisions as to the frequency. You're talking about the Olympics now. There's a lot of stuff that goes on. So it's more than just a tournament. And as I'm watching the tournament, as I'm enjoying it, I'm taking some notes and I'm kind of listening to the noise, listening to the reactions. I'm just trying to check all of that kind of stuff. And as I do that, I kind of organized my thoughts into what I call the 5 WBC takeaways. Some of them are a bit more macro and some of them are a bit more micro, but they all kind of have a little bit to do with our approach of sportsmanship to this tournament. And in my opinion, by giving you these thoughts, I hope to provide an analysis that gets you thinking a little bit about it, and uses the brain power that you might have in terms of sportsmanship to really enhance how you view and how you enjoy this tournament. So let's just jump right into it, okay? First takeaway: tournament baseball is different than Major League Baseball. What do I mean by that? Okay. Tournament baseball, I believe, is a phrase that is probably most associated, at least in my opinion, with MLB host Brian Kenny, who is, Mr. Analytics and hosts his show MLB Now, the show for the thinking fan. And believe me, I've talked with a lot of people who either love him or hate him, etc. But for the purposes of what this means, when you look at baseball as a whole, okay, the regular season of baseball, of Major League Baseball, is 162 games over 180 some odd days. Okay, it's a 6-month sprint, or 6-month marathon. Okay, you frequently have to find yourself in positions where you might lose the battle to win the war. In any Major League Baseball season, the best teams will lose 60 games and the worst teams will win 60 games. On any given day, the worst team can beat the best team. Momentum only goes as far as the next day's starting pitcher. Okay, there's so many intangibles that go into that it almost becomes philosophical. And that's one of the reasons that baseball is the greatest game, in my opinion, ever created. Think about it. It's the perfect marriage of both individual and team-related aspects. It's the only game where the defense controls the ball. Okay, there are so many things. It's just so different from the other sports. It's not like hockey. It's not like football. It's not like basketball. It's not like soccer. Okay, it's completely different from golf and from tennis and what like these are all so different things. Okay. When you look at Major League Baseball, or, if you wanted to look at like Japanese baseball in the same way, again, where you have this regular season marathon, Okay, that regular season marathon, whether it's Major League Baseball or another league that's similar to it, is 110% different than tournament baseball. Okay, tournament baseball is a short sprint where the way that you view the players on your team, the way you can win, well, it's completely different. You have different rules and different guidelines and whatnot. I mean, look at the postseason of Major League Baseball. That is tournament baseball. Okay, it's actually, in my opinion, the best form of tournament baseball because baseball is a game of series. Okay, baseball is a game of averages. It's a game of inches. You don't always get the best possible outcome, to determine a true champion in baseball unless a series is played. Baseball is such where you can't just rely on one pitcher. Okay, you need a set number of pitchers. I mean, look at those starting rotations. On average, you have 5 guys who rotate. You have a bullpen full of arms. Okay, Major League rosters have 13 pitchers on them. Okay, so you can't just advance through a tournament where you throw the same guy every single day. It's not possible. Your arm will figuratively and literally fall off. Okay, so it's just a completely different animal. Think about the tournaments of high schools and colleges who play like single elimination or double elimination tournaments or round robin tournaments and whatnot. All of those are all different types of tournaments and tournament baseball. It's a different game. And in my opinion, again, this is me speaking, I'm learning that tournament baseball is so different that I enjoy it differently. I look at a Major League Baseball regular season as the true test of champions, and then I look at the Major League Baseball postseason as it exists now with all of these sets of series as being probably the best way to gauge who the true champion is, because it is a tournament of series. These one-offs, okay, with a little bit of pool play and then single elimination, it's not the same. That doesn't mean it's worse, but it's different. And from my standpoint, I look at tournament baseball, whether it's the WBC, whether it is, the College World Series, whether it's your local high school state tournament, whether it's the local Little League, playoffs or Cal Ripkens or whatever, and I say, it's just different. It's 100% different. And instead of trying to gauge who a champion is or who the best team truly is, I look at it for entertainment and I look at it for teachable moments, depending upon the level. If it's a scholastic setting or a youth setting, it is completely for teachable moments. And I'm trying to teach myself that, actually, and to say this is more about giving people the opportunity to learn through the conduit of baseball than it is about determining who a true champion is. And when you begin to adapt that, you see it differently. So when I watch the WBC, no matter who wins, do I think that they are the true champions of the WBC and of baseball and whatnot? No, I think that they just happen to be the ones who won that tournament. And the tournament itself is nothing more than glorified entertainment. And I enjoy it. I absolutely enjoy it. To me, it's, it has kind of a similar appeal as the All-Star game in that you see players playing with and against each other in permutations you otherwise would not see. And that's entertaining. To me, it was so interesting to see Aaron Judge on Team USA playing against, or playing with guys like a Bryce Harper and a Kyle Schwarber and a Cal Raleigh. Paul Skeens is on the man. That to me is like, wow. You wouldn't even always get that in the All-Star game because guys are on different leagues or in different leagues. You know what I'm saying? Like to me, that's entertaining. That's what I want to see in terms of entertainment. It's fun. And when we look at it as fun and entertainment, to me, it just means something different. And that's okay. That is okay. All right? So that's point or takeaway number one. Takeaway number two, it was a strike. There's a lot of vitriol about that last pitch called in the semifinal game between the Dominican Republic and the United States by a home plate umpire, Corey Blazer. I saw a side view of it. I got news for you. It was a strike. It crossed at the hollow of the knee. If you're going to go by the box, it looks bad. But remember, we've been talking about this since the dawn of man. The box is not accurate. It's just not. In the same way that ABS now is not a 100% accurate representation of the strike zone, but it's the best system that we have right now to try and right some wrongs. You have to remember that. And there was no ABS used during the World Baseball Classic. You have to understand that. So bitch and moan if you want. It was a strike. Okay, look at the side view. You will see it cross at the hollow of the knee. If you're going to go solely based on the box, I'm sorry, you're going to be disappointed. It's that simple. It's that simple. Takeaway number 3. Teams in the WBC are bound by the parent clubs. And because of that, I ask, can you really gauge who a true champion is? People don't realize this. Okay, the 30 major league clubs had every right to dictate to the WBC managers what they could or could not do with their players. That's why there was so much anger towards Mark DeRosa at the end of the tournament for not doing things like bringing in Mason Miller or doing this. These players cannot play the way that you would like them to play. Okay, the parent clubs are allowed to tell their managers what they can and cannot do. And if you're going to have restrictions like that, if you're going to have pitch counts, okay, on pitchers and pitch usage or pitcher usage restrictions, like if they pitch 2 days in a row, they have to rest the third day, things like that. If you're going to have those things, can you truly put value into that tournament? Again, it points more to entertainment and fun than true value of champion. It's that simple. And that's okay. Again, it's okay. But remember that. Remember that that is allowed. And if you're going to discount that, again, I don't know what to tell you. Takeaway number 4, there is no best time to have this tournament. There just isn't. All right? You hear things like, could we do it in the middle of the season? Could we do it at the end of the season? Listen, there is no time during the calendar year that makes 100% sense or offers a better option with fewer drawbacks for this tournament. If you were to transplant this tournament to another time during the calendar year, whatever it is, I guarantee you it would be the same. It would be a lateral move at best. If you do it in the middle of the season, you hurt the momentum of all the other players who are playing, and you put players in jeopardy for their parent clubs. The parent clubs can still dictate what they can and cannot do. It's just a matter of, okay, the players are much more in mid-season form. That's it. That's not better. That's a lateral move. You do it at the end of the season, guys are burnt out. And guys who are in the postseason might say, I can't play. I'm tired. I played all of October. And if you start this tournament in November or even December, Guys are going to be burnt out. They're like, I got to rest. I have to rest. So you don't have an option that's better than what you have now. You want to make an argument that another lateral move it would be okay. Okay, I'll entertain that. But from what I'm seeing, you don't have a time that creates an obvious opportunity to say, okay, hey, it's going to be better. We're going to have less restrictions. We're going to have this. We're going to have that. It's going to be better if we do it then, especially when you consider how things go around the world. You know, you do have a pool that plays in Japan. All right, 3 out of your 4 pools were in the greater United States. Houston, Miami, Puerto Rico. Okay? And then your 4th pool was in Japan. The first 3 are separated by a time difference of about an hour. Maybe 2, depending upon where you are in the world and daylight savings time, yada, yada, yada. Okay, fine, whatever. Japan is different, folks. It's on the other side of the world if you didn't know. The jet lag that goes into it, like these players would leave spring training and have to adjust from their jet lag and whatnot before they get in and play. And then they got to do the opposite coming back. It's really not ideal. It just speaks again to how there's no good time to do these tournaments. What are you going to do? Are you going to put all the games in one time zone or all in one country? That's not fair. That's not fair to the people on the other side of the world. You're robbing Peter to pay Paul. You are not presenting an option that makes more sense. It's the same thing. There's no clear-cut time to do this. And finally, the final takeaway. The cultures are so different. And rather than criticize, I feel like it's important to take a step back and just look at them. I mean, you think about what happened between Cal Raleigh and Randy Arozarena, how they didn't want to shake hands, or how Raleigh didn't want to fist bump Arozarena, even though they're both on the Mariners. And then you think to some of the Latin American games where guys are hugging each other. Listen, USA was serious, and they came up short. A lot of the teams from Latin America, very enthusiastic. Venezuela ended up winning. A lot of the teams coming from Asia, they have very, rich traditions and honor and things and whatnot that really shape how they play it. They're very sportsmanlike. The cultures are just so darn different. And how do you reconcile this? I don't know. I don't know how you reconcile it. But what I can tell you is that when you have these cultures all over the spectrum like that, and you don't have a proper time to do this, and again, it just points to how it is nothing more than good entertainment. It's fun. I enjoy watching it. But I'm sorry, I can't put it at a level higher than what we have right now in Major League Baseball. I very much enjoy it. And I'll also speak to a couple of other very minor things that didn't make my takeaways. There was a comment from Yankees broadcaster Michael Kay about how he doesn't want his politics entwined with sports, and how the Team USA really engulfed themselves in playing for the Stars and Stripes, playing for the men and women who fought for the country. Really I think they brought in some servicemen and women, or at least one serviceman. I think it was a guy who was involved in SEAL Team 6 to capture bin Laden into the locker room to give a motivational speech. And Michael Kay's whole thing was, I don't want those two things entwined, because what goes on in politics and in war and whatnot is so much more important than what goes on in baseball. And what's funny is that caught so much wind, and then once it caught the wind, people decided to say, rather than look at it and say, hey, can we actually have a legitimate discussion about this? It became political. And then it became a left versus right thing. It's amazing how that happens. Why can't it just be something where we say, maybe he's got a point, and maybe we just need to do a better job of looking at it as a whole and say, look, you can have national pride. Everyone has national pride when they play in this thing. Okay? It's wonderful to say that it means a lot to put on the stars and the stripes. And at that point, have a little bit of fun, respect your country, respect other countries, okay? And smile a little bit. To me, it's just I hear these things, and it's no wonder to me that I'm always left scratching my head with this kind of stuff. Another point I would make is that Fox got all the rights, the TV rights to the WBC, and SiriusXM got all of the radio rights. There's definitely something happening with the media, as we've seen in baseball with Netflix getting involved and now Apple TV and Peacock. And, there's definitely something to a lot of this stuff where people are paying a lot of money to do this. In my opinion, we are reaching a point, because you're seeing it in a lot of other sports. You're seeing it in football. You're seeing it in basketball, okay, where you are going to get these fights like this. And I'll give baseball this pass. All of the TV rights deals are essentially up after 2028. So you could see a major paradigm shift in how we consume baseball after that point. And that's fine. That's fair. That's practical. I get it. Okay? But we just have to be careful, because we are playing with dynamite here a little bit. It is a little questionable, shall we say. You are starting to kind of tiptoe into some murky waters as you start forcing more and more people to do various things with the way that they choose to consume the sport. You may get to a point where the smarter thing to do is to try and have some level of overlap. What I mean by that is, if you have MLB.TV, for example, which I do, okay? I know there's a lot about blackouts and things like that, and I recognize that that's something that they're trying to fix come 2028. I get all of that, okay? Not arguing that right now. There's something to be said about the idea of saying, okay, I would almost rather pay, I think I'd pay $200 a year right now for MLB.TV, which gets me every regular season game that's not nationally televised. And even some of the nationally televised ones I get, like the ones on Fox. Okay? I don't get the Peacock games on that. I don't get the Apple TV games, but I get everything else basically in the regular season. And I get all of it in the preseason. Okay? I'm wondering if I would rather pay $250 and not have to worry about all of that. I literally question that. I would literally say, would I pay more to have MLB.TV allow me to see every game, preseason, regular season, postseason, all-star game, everything, absolutely everything, regardless of the platform? Might be something to consider. And I'm sure that there are a lot of things being discussed, and we are just not privy to them, and that's okay. I get that. I'm just throwing that out there as a bonus takeaway. But it was difficult at times to try and consume as much of the WBC as I wanted to consume. I made it work, okay? And I'm going to go through it again now as the regular season is underway, and I'm trying to figure out what games I'm watching and where. But it is concerning. There is a level of concern to that. So those are my takeaways from the WBC. Remember, tournament baseball is different. That pitch was a strike. These teams are bound by their parent clubs. There's no best time to do this. And the cultures are really different. And I think that as we think about and ponder those, okay, and we have legitimate discussions where we listen to other people, rather than pointing fingers and whatnot, we can start to see more common ground here. And I'd encourage people to do that. I would encourage people to do that rather than just, go to the water cooler and just yell, it was a strike. How dare they? This sucks. Blah, blah, blah. No, just have some deep thoughts. Okay? Have some good conversations. It ain't rocket science, folks. I hope you enjoyed the WBC as much as I did. And I hope you enjoyed this episode. As always, check us out online at osafoundation.org. Contact the show using the email address podcast@osafoundation.org. On the socials at facebook.com/osafoundation, X and Instagram at osafoundation, # how you play the game. We'll talk to everybody in just a couple of weeks. Until then, treat each other with respect. How You Play the Game is a production of the OSA Foundation, Incorporated. The producer-engineer of this episode is Sean Ryan. Music by SoundSpring Studio. The executive producer of How You Play the Game is Jack Furlong. For more information, visit osafoundation.org.